what's happening in info is everyone's rushing quick, faster results, faster growth, faster. I want this, I want that. And
you chase that thing and then you get that number. And then it's like, now you're afraid of losing it. Instead of like a chase of getting there, it becomes, holy shit, what if someone comes and takes this away from me?
You get overworked, overstressed. You have no space in your mind. You just tunnel and you actually miss a lot of input that could lead you to somewhere genius.
90% of all offers out there is more rev, more appointments, more leads, something that always drives shit front end.
Not a lot of people take the effort to really dive into their expertise and figure out what really works here and make it into something of their own.
And it's so hard for them to accept that it's okay for them to work less while their business grows.
This is kind of where we take that shift, because it's like you have to experience it. You have to take the time to experience it in your business. You have to learn from your mistakes, learn from the good and the wrong things, learn from what works and what doesn't. And
people listen to this and then they're like, yeah, bullshit. You have to say that, Vince. It's easy for you to say, what's the point if you cannot even relax and enjoy?
What if there is a way that I can have it all? And the best part is there is.
Hey people, welcome to Serve, Don't Sell. This is a podcast with me and Vince. And if you're an agency owner, coach, or consultant who wants to make more money without being miserable, then you've come to the right place.
Very good intro.
I think that could be a new tagline.
Yeah.
We talk. Vince is my very good friend. He's also one of my clients, and he's doing incredible numbers with his business. And he follows. We have a shared philosophy, and this is a podcast where we just dive deep into business topics that can hopefully enable you to scale your consulting, coaching business. As long as you're just really good at something and you want to deliver it online, then we're good. So welcome, Vince. How are you?
Well, doing good, man. Life is good. Life is really good on my end. My partner's visiting, so I'm a little bit more relaxed than usual. Life's good, when everything's fine, you're just over there chilling. No, but life's been good.
Nice.
Really good month as well. This has been a long-term only month for me. I've just straight up been putting in, and I guess you could say sowing the seeds, right? Yeah, sowing the seeds in for longer-term plays, content and everything. And it's kind of like awkward as well, because you're just doing those things, not seeing immediate returns from it as you're used to, and it just becomes this game of fuck. But other than that, I'm doing perfectly fine, man. How about you?
That's good. That's good to hear. I think also a pretty slow month on my end. I'm moving back to Denmark. I can finally say it out loud. That feels good, because I know that when this pod is out, I'm already back in Denmark. So then it's finalized and settled. So that's nice. So that's obviously taking a lot of time, moving countries, company-wise, personal finances, working with lawyers, etc. But that's something that you got to do. And I think that's also a long-term play, right?
Yeah.
It just doesn't show on your balance sheet or new client signed or whatever it might be.
And I think that makes it the topic for today, guys. We're going to be talking about long-term plays.
Yeah.
Because, everything in the info space has been very short-term oriented, if I can begin polarizing as I always do. But I think a good way to get started with it is kind of the idea of maybe I can run you through your thoughts on this. I think we will just jump through it as we always do. Because, me coming from more recent growth, I guess you could say a growth spurt, what I'm experiencing is you kind of have this phase of going, like you're acquiring, signing more clients, you're running it up. And all the effort that you've compounded months from before, they kind of just come to a big fat climax, and you're sitting there. Where's the next win? Where's the next hit? Where's the next rush of adrenaline coming through? And then you're sitting in front of your camera, or as you were saying, preparing longer term moves, and you're just sitting there like, this is kind of awkward. What's happening? That's how I could best explain my relative experience right now. Yeah, man. How about you? How do you experience that?
I mean, it's kind of funny, right? It's like the hedonic treadmill. It's like you always want to chase more.
Hedonic treadmill.
Haven't you heard about it?
I haven't actually heard of that term. I feel like I should, but hedonism is the constant chasing of pleasure and I guess dopamine, right? Yeah, okay, I see.
Yeah, so I think in business you use the term of when your business grows, your lifestyle follows along, and then you kind of build yourself a little bit of a prison and a hamster wheel where every time you make more money, you spend more money, and then you get used to a more lavish lifestyle, and then you have to make up with more money, and then that kind of goes on forever. Yeah, I think, and most people, right, they'll tell themselves that when I have 1 million, then I'll be fine. And then they reach the million, it'll be when I have 2. And then when they reach 2, they'll be when they have 5. Obviously, I cannot vouch for that because I haven't tried that myself, liquid in my bank account. But I can imagine that that's how it goes. So I
don't think it changes much from where you already are. It's just a bigger number if you really think about it.
Yeah, it's just adding zeros to whatever number is on the bank account, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that you want to get out of as early as possible. And I think that's really, really hard. Like it really, really is. Because you have to dig a little bit deeper in terms of what the fuck is actually important to you versus just like making some more money and signing some more clients and hiring some more people. But you just get used to it. It's like, it's crazy addictive. Like I have a very addictive personality. I know that from like younger years of like me gambling and running it up and investing into stocks when I didn't know shit. So like business for me was also kind of like a drug of like chasing the next milestone and revenue number. And it can be anything, right? It can be revenue, profit. But it can also be team members. It can be status. It can be followers. Anything that has like correlation to growth. You kind of like become addicted to that shit.
I'll be fair, I don't think there's a single business owner that I know that does not have what we would term as addictive personality qualities. Because, bruh, like you would not be starting a business if the idea wasn't, yo, I'm going to end up being successful, making money, being able to get my dream life. And it's kind of funny, right? Because once you've made it out of the grind phase, you kind of realize that the grind phase was so much fun because of the constant adrenaline kicks. But well said, man. I think I could touch on that too, because it's kind of this idea where, and we're all guilty of this at the end of the day. It's kind of like, all right, new milestone, what's next? New milestone, what's next? But then you look at the rest of your life and you go, ah, shit, I haven't really been focusing on any of this. And I think one of the most difficult things when you're transitioning from short to long-term growth, when you're shifting from making these, as I think I've also started to the other days, big boy plays, if I can term it like a silly person. But simply said, one of the biggest shifts going from this short-term cycle of quick more to actually thinking longer term is that you have to operate in a complete different way. It's like you're constantly chasing a high to now I'm doing this thing I know will result into something great one day potentially, and it actually feels like a bigger gamble, which is kind of ironic if you think about the fact that the short-term grind is kind of like gambling away your time. And that balance there is really, really, I guess, challenging. That's how I experience it. It's a fun challenge nonetheless, but you're kind of going up your day where normally your I guess 8-hour or 10-hour work cycle would be meeting after grinding after this, after that. And now you're just like, hey, I'm going to go for a walk and have some coffee because my business is doing pretty good. And your nervous system just goes, am I supposed to do that?
And like, what's the fucking point of building this thing, right? If you can't even
do that,
enjoy the small things without nagging yourself in the head, kind of.
And it's so funny, right? Because you'd expect that would be the most natural thing you'd want to do when you're at this position. And yet every part of your body screams against you and your mind starts stressing it out and this and that. And yeah, that's one of the things I've also been working on a lot recently. And I think it's one of the most healthy things because until you can zoom out and see that perspective of, hey, I'm supposed to enjoy my business because I've built it for that reason. And it's actually when you start enjoying it more, when you actually relax, that you come up with really cool ideas, whether it's for content, whether it's for serving your clients, that you actually get to live the life that you really wanted to.
Exactly. And I think I think from me personally, it's also shifted a little bit from chasing a personal number of mine to not hitting that exact number, but hitting somewhat close to it. And then I actually read it in this book, but it was like this
Tell us
guy.
about the book real quick. What book are you talking about?
It's called From Barista to Billionaire. It's Andrew Wilkinson. He's a guy who became a billionaire in his like early 30s, and it basically just like talks about his journey. And when he sold his first company, he basically made a sum of money, and he had that liquid in his bank, and then he started like to operate more from a state of, instead of that he wanted to achieve something, he was like scared of someone will come and take the amount of money that he had made away from
like
them.
scarcity.
Yeah, and it's like, then he mentioned it to another rich friend, and then he was like, oh, it's like the pile of mole or something, mole pile. I can't fucking remember the word, but it was so true of like you chase that thing and then you get that number, and then it's like now you're afraid of losing it. So it becomes, instead of like a chase of getting there, it becomes, holy shit, what if someone comes and takes this away from me? I think I can kind of like relate a little bit to it in terms of like a personal liquid goal and like net worth or whatever you want to call it. But it's also, at the same time, it's also giving me a lot of stability to like really zoom out. And I think it's just because I'm really happy about my business, and I know that I'll be doing this for 5 to 10 years. So I'm pretty chill. I'm not gonna lie. I spend my days the way that I want to spend my days, and I make and I make more money from it. So it's pretty funny
good.
how it works, right? It's a bit of a paradox. It's like when you start taking a little bit chill, you get fewer but way better ideas because you allow yourself to rest a little bit. That's typically where you hit your zone of genius instead of constantly operating for the next deadline. And then you get one good idea. For example, for me, it was like, how can I take my learnings from my previous business and the first 6 months of running my one-man consulting business here. And then I came up with the idea of a digital coffee shop, right? And that idea has maybe made me $300,000-$400,000 in the last 6 months or so, right? Just from that one idea, because I allowed myself to take a lot of time off and then build that. So now I'm just running my business and waiting for the next good idea. Yeah. And then I capitalize on that. And then I'll just continue.
I think the interesting part of that is also, and that's how I experience it, it's like I always try going into, I wouldn't say I would like looking into extremes. I've been teaching myself to live a little bit more in the middle of the world. What was that? The Buddhists would say I don't know, it's a cool saying. Anyways, the point is that you're not supposed to always live in the extremes of life. But I always like to think of it like, how can you create a space, or rather said, how can you maximize that? My question is, there's always this fine line where execution becomes too much. You get overworked, overstressed, you have no space in your mind, you just tunnel, and you actually miss a lot of input that could lead you to somewhere genius. And then too much rest means you're not doing jack shit, or you're actually not exercising. I always find that a very fine line type of balance, because what I have experienced a lot in my life, and I think this is also more due to the traumas that I had in the past, it's either when I work, I'm completely always active and completely on, or when I rest, I'm basically a sack of potatoes and nothing happens. That's hilarious, and that's what I've been trying to balance out. So it's interesting you say that, because when you actually give yourself more space, what happens is you come with the best ideas ever. But at the same time, when you put too much stress on the ball, it's like nothing comes out of it, and it's just straight up hitting a wall all the time. And that balance, I think, is different per person, and it's very interesting to see also how that plays out.
100%. I think for me, it's also about the relationship that I have with my work, because I was very much like you, like that I saw my work as a sprint and something that I needed to get done. Yeah. And then when I was done with it, I needed to rest from work, where it was like, I would really like to build myself a business where my rest and my happy place is when I'm working. And that takes a lot of time, that it takes a lot of time to realize what it is that you like and what you love to do and what fills your cup and what drains it. But it, like, for example, I really like to read and I really like to write. And for the vast majority of me running a business, I would always feel a little bit guilty when I was reading or writing, because that hadn't anything to do with my business growth. You
felt like it wasn't productive.
Yeah, exactly. Like if I was writing, it was reels or YouTube videos, whereas I just like to write, and I write a lot of shit. Like 10% makes it out, the remaining 90 is just there in my personal storage.
Keeps all his crash outs on his journal.
Whereas now I realize that I need to write, like, let's say 10 ideas, and then for it to be one of them that can be an Instagram post that will, for example, maybe get me a client because it was a good personal reflection or analogy or something that I realized from a book or something that I was consuming, and then like fed it into my own business, tested it or whatever, like gave it to people. And then, so it's about like finding the things that actually like fills your cup. That's the most important thing. Because it's like that, then like it's fine for me to take a lot of calls because I talk to people that I like to talk to, because I have really good clients.
Because you actually have fun doing it.
Right? But at the same time, I also know that it drains me. So it's not to say that I don't like one-on-one calls, because I do, but I also know that they drain me. So that's why I only take calls 3 days a week. Yep. Because I need to rest in between calls, and I also need to do things that I know that like really builds my business long term and feeds me.
Yeah. This is the cutest shit I'll tell you, or I've ever said to you, but I'm so happy for you.
Thank you,
Like,
bro.
actually, that sounds so nice. What I mean by that is like seeing your growth and having seen how you grew from short form to now building the digital coffee shop, seeing the fact that you actually, that statement there is something you should be really proud of, man. And I think a lot of people hearing this, I want you guys to take example of this. This is also something I take example of for what I'm working towards, because you just said a very important thing that I don't think a lot of people even get close to experiencing in their entire career, which is, and this is how I've tended to experience it. It's when you work, you have to put in all this energy and then you have to rest from work. Problem is, if that's the way you live, then you're kind of antagonizing work and rest from one another. It's either you're one pole or the other pole, and you're never really at peace. And what you just said is I run my business so I get my peace and excitement from work. And that's beautiful. Because then you really enjoy it. Then you're just having fun doing what you like.
Yeah, and I think the two things that I want to really emphasize on is like, first of all, it's a commitment to self. It is like, because in the beginning it wasn't like this, because I had to test a lot of things and I dropped a lot in personal profit and personal revenue, and it was also I also had to realize that I couldn't be taking calls 5 days a week as I started doing, and then like kind of like little bit signs of burnout, and then
guess what I came to the conclusion of.
Yeah, exactly, bro. So it's like a lot of these people, right, and it kind of like traces back to the hedonic treadmill that we talked about. It's like because it's an ego thing dropping in personal profit, because like when you're used to making, in short form,
it makes you feel like you're not good enough. For example,
opening a Stripe, 200K a month, right? It's like 7 or 8K a day, and like some days there nothing checks in on my WAP account, which is perfectly fine. I couldn't give a shit, but it hurts your ego, and I think a lot of people are not willing to take that step back in order to build something that they really want, because it's a big commitment and it takes a lot of time. But I think, as you said, bro, it's like everyone can do it, but it just requires a commitment. And it also, second of all, it also is a lot about the relationship that you have with money and your work. Because, for example, I work with 3 or 4 clients that is doing around like very high 5 figures or 6 figures a month. They're not in the community. I work with them in like their private team Slack channels. And it's so hard for them to accept that it's okay for them to work less while their business grows. And it's like, it's something that I work a lot with these founders on, because it's now I've helped them hire their team and structure like their paid acquisition, their back end with CSMs and profit margins, and like they're making more money than ever. And yet on the calls they're still like, yeah, Fred, and we want to scale. And what can we use our hours on? And I'm like, you need to chill the fuck out now, because you just switched from one-man army hustling your way to very good numbers and your business. But your business will never ever exceed 6 figures a month if you you need to stop operating from short-term and state of survival, and then step back to few very good decisions that makes high impact. Because when you're doing 6 figures a month, right, you can find 10, 12, 15% per month in a few good decisions, or a better hire, or a better culture, or lifetime value, or a better product. That's how you outpace everyone, right?
Yep. And it's really interesting too, because what I've also found in my journey is there's this, I don't know how to explain it. Have you ever played those games where here we go again? Have you ever played those games where where there's these real-time action events where you have this gauge that moves and you have to press it somewhere, and if you press it at the right place, it's perfect. Yeah, right. So the way I see growth, it's kind of like, depending on the phase you're in the vehicle, he's like, where's Vince going with this? This is an interesting one.
Like, I need to picture this analogy now.
You have this gauge, right? And there's always the extremes. There's the worst, the highest, and there's that middle ground. If you find that middle ground, you find balance between time input, rest, recovery, and output. And you could stress it to go to the extreme, for example, push it to maybe a higher 6-figure month, but you cannot repeat that because it burns out the system. And the only way you can grow that whole system so that you can scale more, and this is of course assuming the goal is to scale, but we're going from the absolute truth, which is growth here, at least that's my statement here, is you have to change the vehicle. And here's the ironic thing that I've learned from you about vehicles, and that I've also now come to the same conclusion of. And before I go any further, guys, this is why you want to invest in a mentor. I have to say this because I have a mentorship, Fred also has a mentorship, but simply, how the fuck do you learn about these things without going through cycles over and over again? One of the coolest things that I've had to experience is that I saw it both with you, like in your experience, seeing you grow, but also that you reflected on me. And then through my experiences, I could pick up hints in reality going, that's how it looks like. Anyways, as I was trying to say, the only way you can functionally do this is you have to experience it. You have to take the time to experience it in your business. You have to learn from your mistakes, learn from the good and the wrong things, learn from what works and what doesn't. And the only unfortunate thing with all of this is it takes time. Now, that's not unfortunate if you really think about it, because, hey, that's the truth of life, but it takes time to learn these things. And this is kind of where we take that shift, because it's like everyone's rushing quick, faster results, faster growth, faster, I want this, I want that. And social media is depicting growth as if it's instant. Now, I'm of the opinion, and also, I'm working with neuro, so I'm big on the metaphysics side of things, is that you can actually perpetuate growth very fast. But there's this interesting thing with growth that we don't tend to see. And I'm going to go a little bit metaphysic here, so please bear with me. Nero frames it really well. It's like reality. I don't know if you ever heard of this, Fred.
Probably
reality, not. What we see. Okay, here we go. Reality, what we see, is actually only 0.00035% of what is actually in the world. What I mean by that, our light receptors in our eyes can only pick up 0.00035%. Something in that area, it's a very low number, of actual reality. Meaning, when you start making shifts and long-term growth, when you actually start doing things from a long-term perspective, when you start working on the mindset you have with money, the way you see your life and your balance, the shift isn't instant. You can't really see it in reality yet, but the shift is taking place. And that's typically where we fall. Because, like you said, letting go of your ego because now you're making longer-term moves. You don't see that instant cash of 200K a month, but maybe you're making a lot more profit relatively. But hey, it's not that big number. By the next year, you know you're popping off. I know you're popping off. I mean, hey, I don't even have to announce it to the world. It's already done. Because all the time you're spending now building something very tangible, very long-term, it'll ultimately lead to something so much better.
100%. I think it's a really good note, and at the same time, it's like I hope that people listen to this, and then they're like, "Yeah, bullshit. You have to say that, Vince. Like, it's easy for you to say," and then they do something. Hopefully, they do something like out of character, out of current characters. Like they make a decision like their future self would be extremely proud of, and then they just like stick to it, and then they see it, you know, and then they're like, "Now it's game over," because that was it for me with the digital coffee shop video that I posted on YouTube. You know, it was like me committing to self and my way of doing things and what I believed to be true and what I wanted to do, and struggling with that shit for 5 months, coming up with the idea, kind of like realizing it and actually putting it out there. And then it popped the fuck off, that video, and people loved it, you know, but it's like, that was like 2 years of work in one video.
Yeah. I think it's also curious when you zoom out, right? Because what this really comes down to, and it's really interesting. Let's zoom out for a second. The info space is relatively new, but also not. Like it's been here for forever. And if you really think about it, 2 statements here are true. First of all, you're a very unique individual. I know you. And I mean it with a lot of love. But what I'm trying to say here essentially is, if you really think about it, you're a unique individual with a unique take. But when you look at the take that you share with Digital Coffee Shop, to you it seems so logical. To me, it's like, hey, but that was so obvious. How come no one ever shared that? That's the first thing I'm trying to say here. What you'll find, and at least this is my perception of what's happening in info, is everyone's so busy reiterating models, basically reapplying the same shit in a different lateral niche. Meaning, for example, if it worked in business opportunity, it'll probably work in real estate, etc., coaching. But what happens is none of these, or let me reframe it. It's not none, but not a lot of people take the effort to really dive into their expertise and figure out what really works here and make it into something of their own. Because that takes time. It's not sexy. It's not quick. It's not fast.
And it's hard as fuck, man. It's like
it's very difficult. Thank you. Yeah. I mean,
really,
maybe it doesn't. Maybe I'm looking at a way where I feel it's so simple because you understand it, but it's true. It takes time to really learn. I think the hard part is the time it takes to accept that it requires a lot of studying, learning. Like you're reflecting and writing and reading all day, same as me. It just, you get all these ideas.
Yep. And
then the second thing.
But it makes sense, right? It's like it's like most people, for example, with profile visit ads, they make it seem like it's some magical way of getting clients, you know? And then whenever they buy into this person teaching profile visit ads, having a DM setter, high ticket offer, conversion mechanisms in between, yada, yada, then they don't really understand profile visit ads. You know, they don't really understand what is ads.
Like the fundamentals behind it.
Exactly. So then they just learn surface level. And when you're only a surface level, it was kind of like when you had to do a presentation at school that you memorized the day before. So like when you stood up in front of the classroom and got a little bit nervous.
Really good.
You were very nervous.
Example there.
You were very nervous because you were trying to memorize. You constantly kept looking at the PowerPoint and like speaking to out in the classroom, versus if you had to do a presentation on your favorite soccer player. You know, I could speak for hours about Cristiano Ronaldo without having to look at the PowerPoint,
the
without
Messi
being
fans
nervous.
Are raging right now.
They're fucking raging in the comments here. And that's the difference, right? It is something that you understand and something that you fully have like mastered, and speaking about it it's so much more different when you're memorizing. And I think a lot of people, they just want to memorize because it's easy, it's surface, it's quick, instead of like actually like what the hell is ads? What is communication? What is marketing? What is first impressions? What is retargeting? What is like sales journeys? What is like all of these things, you know?
Yeah. I think it's really cool how you touched on that, man. And I think that is the perfect analogy, because if there's anything that I've seen and found, it's like when you fundamentally understand something, and I always go back to the word. I think I've said, if you ever take one of my YouTube videos and you do a shot challenge to the word times I say the word fundamental, you're probably dead after you finish that video. Because the times bro, you're not even getting out of the hospital at that point. It's just fundamental. But that's the point. It's all fundamentals. Like, I think that it's a beautiful example. I remember when I studied, and this is probably also how I ended up learning. Shout out to my mom here already. Because what would happen is most people tend to memorize it, but when you memorize it, your memory, first of all, it's quite short term, so you don't really understand it. You can just quietly say it out loud. A profile visit ad gets people to your profile, and then they'll buy from you. Right? Nice. That's kind of the idea. Versus the whole idea behind a profile visit ad is that when you get traffic to your page, followed by a good setup, blah, 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 that's the whole fundamental thing. Point is, when you memorize things and when you learn to memorize for a quick result, because it's the same mentality, right? I want to get a quick result, a good grade on my test. What ends up happening is you might get that result short term pretty quickly, but you'll first of all not be able to replicate it with a high success level. And worst of all, if you want to end up teaching it to other people, or if you want to end up actually succeeding with it, you'll be lost in the sauce because you never understood the one thing that matters, which is, hey, why do I need to use that tactic? Or why is it relevant? The funny thing about ads, bro, like, let's touch on ads real quick. Ads are so simple. It's just eyeballs.
Yep.
Place.
Yep. That's it.
That's it, guys. You can leave the chat now. Forget about everything. And then there's all these complicated metrics. And I think one of the things that people do a lot is also they tend to make it more complicated than it is, because it's also a very sexy selling point.
Right? Yeah, the most sexy shit ever is more revenue and more clients. That's what everyone sells, right? 90% of all offers out there is more rev, more appointments, more leads, something that always drives shit front end. No one is like, hey, how to improve your lifetime value with 20%. We don't want to buy that, you know.
Bro, that's basically going to that's basically just going, oh man, I didn't hear you, I'm falling asleep in part of the class. That's actually relevant, right? That's kind of like the reception of it. And I think it's so important because one thing I always stress is like, hey, please fundamentally learn this. Please learn it for what it is. Please actually, same thing I do with my clients. I know you do too, because when you understand how something works, you can bend the rules. You can quite literally play within it. And that's where you can actually start having fun with your business. That's where you can apply it for the long term. And man, I really, really wish that people would start doing that more.
Yeah, and I never really understand people that doesn't have the desire to understand, because I would be so stressed about my business if I didn't understand it. You know, if I was setting up ads that I didn't fully understand, but like some guy had some modules that I should just like follow on screen, press the same buttons, put X amount of money in, and then that's it. Like, I would die, bro. Like, I wouldn't be able to sleep. I wouldn't be able to, like...
Bro, went right to it.
Yeah,
I get it.
I wouldn't be able to, like, do all of the things that I do in a day-to-day in terms of my money management and, like, live my life and my expenses and where I'm heading and, like, all of these things, because, like, your most important asset in this world is your cash flow business. And if you don't even understand your cash flow business, how are you going to do anything else? Right? Because no one wants to learn the fundamentals because it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, and it's well, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a giga nerd, and that's why I think it's fun, because I actually think it's really fun.
Yeah, but like, you're not your audience, I promise you.
Damn. I would like to think I am. No, but fair enough. And if there's anything that this episode is really, really key for, guys, please take a second to slow the fuck down. And when I say slow down, I think this needs to be said out loud. It's not about... Because I used to think that rest and slowing down and long-term thinking meant, you know what, I'm just gonna... Oh, bro, I swear, I used to think that rest meant I would just have to sit on the couch and stare in front of me and do nothing.
Oh, that's also a good exercise.
Well, I mean, it's a good exercise for the sake of relaxing, but I mean more the idea of it's seen as this such... boring, sad thing. Dude, I saw a really interesting video about this the other day. Some Harvard professor, dude, who's kind of bald, has a nice beard, he has glasses. I think you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He's on the internet, but he was talking about the relevance of being bored. And it was fascinating, right? Because actually...
Oh, was it on YouTube?
Yeah, it was on YouTube.
I think that video has like popped the fuck off. It's like 6 minutes or something, right?
Yes. Yeah. And then he talks about being bored and then straight up put your phone away. But it's so important, right? It's kind of that same cycle in life where everyone's chasing a next high, dopamine, constantly scrolling. But then instead of having that kind of life, because we're entrepreneurs, we tell ourselves we're productive and, we're doing big things to build a bigger business. You're just replacing that exact behavioral pattern inside of your business and calling it, or giving yourself an excuse to do it because you're being productive. The point is, when you actually get a chance to be bored, when you actually get a chance to relax, and relaxation here means really just unstressing your mind from all the fucking things that happen, pretty cool ideas come up.
Yeah.
I've been scripting. And
not the first time. Not the first time you do it, not the second time, not the third, not the fourth.
But let me tell you why, though.
Yeah.
Here's the science. The reason why is because if you've been building up so much tension and stress, you've been putting so much pressure on yourself, you've constantly been working, grinding. When you relax for the first time, you're going to have a panic attack, bro, I swear.
Yeah, it's like when you go on vacation.
You don't even know. Yeah.
The first 2 days, they are not fun because your body is like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And then on the third and fourth, it's the most amazing shit ever because like, now we're relaxing,
Yeah, and so...
But people just need to be more boring. Boring is always the best answer to anything in life.
Best hot take ever. People just need to be more boring.
Yeah, for fuck's sake. A boring life is the perfect life, Wake up early,
describe your perfect
mornings.
boring life, by the way.
Bro, I love boring life. I've been with my girlfriend for 6 years and I'll be with her forever. So
that's not boring. Wow, this generation
but that is the generation,
boring.
Like if I go on social media and I will see a bunch of guys with a bunch of different women and like all of these things and
they're like mogging and they got their
yeah, it's like the fuck, I've been with my girl for 6 years now.
That's beautiful.
When I was 19 and I'll just be with her forever. So that is boring in a sense. In my opinion, it's not. It's like the only right thing to do. Boring. It's also wake up early, go to bed early. Because
have similar routines, have good values,
7 days a week,
drink all the time.
Yeah, and like read, journal, write. Very few people in your life, but very quality people. Spend a lot of time with your family. Like your family won't be around forever. Your grandparents, like these kind of people, your mom, your dad. Like if you have those, you're blessed already. Like live it, just like go for walks, spend time in nature, watch sunrises, watch sunsets. It is typically the most basic things that is the most fulfilling.
You're a little romantic guy, aren't you?
You're
very romantic.
So.
No, but it's a very romantic way of thinking, I think, honestly, also, because it's like, but not romantic in the sense of dates and everything, like not that style, but it's a romantic way of living, which is just like enjoying the moments and actually being present. To be fair, bro, I see why we're good friends too, because like, if you asked me, my typical day, the only difference would be add a little bit of epic music in some increments of the day because I want to feel like a main character protagonist of an anime story. That's it. I think it's always been like this. Well, maybe we're just old souls, but the point that I'm trying to share here and what I want to make is I think a lot of people watching this are in the earlier stages. Maybe some of you guys are already far ahead, but the point is, you're probably having these cycles. It's either you're waking up and it's like next thing, next big objective, or there's this next constant chase. And if there's one thing I've learned, suffering also from a lot of burnout through my earlier years, it's find a way to really, get that steam out in the sense of find a way to really put in the energy and the effort so you can feel productive, because productivity is a very healthy feeling. But please take a moment to also experience the other part of life, which is the good moments, the relaxation, the fun times. Because at the end of the day, yes, life is short. And I don't want to make this crazy sentimental thing, but life is short. And at the same time, if you actually want to do the absolute best you can, if you think about it, you're going to have to be relaxed. Your mind has to be sharp.
Yeah, and like what's the point if you cannot even relax and enjoy things? Like obviously I'm by no means financially set for life and I have by no means reached the goals that I have for myself, but I'm also completely fine with it taking longer than what I initially set out for. Like the first
perspective.
Yeah, the first 2.5 years of my business, all I cared about was like one specific number, because I knew that when I had that number liquid in the bank and I would make very conservatively 4% of that, then I could be able to retire. And then I realized I do not want to retire. Like my goal now is to never retire. And my goal is to like do the things that I do every single day now for the rest of my life.
And if you think about what you just said there, if you never want to retire, let's think about that for a second. Let's dissect it. If you never want to retire, what that fundamentally means is you need to be healthy. You need to be able to have a lot of longevity. You need to enjoy what you're actually doing. You need to do it with people who you really enjoy spending time with, people who you also look up to, who you can learn from, your peers, especially if you're a mentor in this case, or if you're in the coaching space. And most of all, you need to be a person who can maintain all of this with the family perspective, with the people you love and everything. Meaning, you need to actually have fun.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be all about money. Wow, who would have guessed?
And it's not like everything in my business is fun, you know, like there's also a lot of shit that I don't want to do,
well
but
said.
at the same time, that also puts stuff into perspective. That's also what makes the moments that I enjoy that tenfold, because I also have things that I do not enjoy. And I think that's also fine. Like at some point, maybe I'll only do things that I enjoy, but I'm not there yet. And I have also accepted that. And I'm also actually fine with that.
I actually want to touch on that because I think it's a bit of I think it's also another way of how like people polarize a lot of big money and fast growth. People also tend to polarize the opposite end of it, which is never work again and life will be perfect and you will never experience stress. What I've learned, and it's one thing that I can really touch on, especially working with you, Fred, also building this business, growing really fast, working with Nero now, more on the metaphysical side of things. And this is a really, really useful one. First off, he refers to it as the infinite card shuffle. You do not really know what's going to happen tomorrow. Meaning, therefore, anything can quite literally happen. Now, I have this statement and idea that if I am within a specific routine of my life, I can minimize and maximize the opportunity for good things and minimize the opportunity for bad things happening, like accidents, but we'll not get into there. The point is, something could happen tomorrow that you have no control over. But you can always control your second reaction. What I mean by that, if something really bad happens, I don't know, let's use the example of a business here because it's more relatable to all of us here. Something with a client happens or a client leaves or, I don't know, some kind of an issue with a client, right? Your initial reaction is, right? Your initial reaction will inevitably be like, oh, fuck, this is a bad thing. But you can control your second one the moment you become aware of what is happening. Let's say something happens with a family member or, I don't know, maybe this happens to me sometimes. You forgot to get breakfast in the morning and now your morning routine's fucked. The worst one ever.
Just go back to bed.
Just go back to bed. I'm skipping the day. I'm done with it.
Fuck it.
The point is you can't control if good or bad things happen, but that's not the point of it. Because the point is just experience life. Experience it for what it is. And that means if you're able to go through the good and the bad things and actually just stay yourself and keep your values in place, well, I think you've actually won at life. Because then it doesn't matter if you're wearing a really expensive watch or if you have the coolest car on the planet or 10 bad bitches on a yacht. The point is, you're actually having fun. And when you've decided for yourself, hey, what I want to do, like you said, Fred, I have the exact same thing, is I really love this and I just want to share what I learned, make content, help people along the way and have great conversations. And you can maintain that for a long period while enjoying the other parts of life and making a good amount of money with it.
Yep.
Yeah, congrats. You actually won the lottery ticket.
Yeah, and I think that is genuinely the lottery ticket. Like just I'm grateful every day, and I think grateful is something everyone should practice. Being grateful has changed my life with like putting stuff into perspective and just like always just being grateful for whatever situation that it is. Yeah. I think that's amazing. But it's like I also read about that in the book actually of like when you grow and the area that you're in and the people that you compare yourself to, what will happen is that you will develop the same interest as them.
Yeah.
So like for example, I've never been into watches, right? I couldn't give a shit about watches, but then I started in the online space and I started to make some money, and then suddenly I found myself watching videos about watches.
YouTube's.
You know, I would go on Chronov and scroll. I would be like, check it out. I would visit the an AD in Dubai here, and like it was like I was like, what the fuck? And where the fuck does this interest come from? I would be like, I would walk with my girlfriend in the mall, and like a guy would walk by, and I'll be like, holy shit, this guy's wearing like $100,000 watch. And she was like, what?
You know, there's that statement like when you think of red cars, suddenly you start seeing all these red cars in front of you. Yeah. But the beautiful part, and I want to hook on to that, I don't know if you were going there, but I think the cool part of that is there's nothing wrong with developing interests as we start growing and getting more money. The point is that you do not lose your values in the first place that got you there. Yeah,
100%. And it's like just do it for your sake. If it makes you happy having a really cool watch, then you should buy all the coolest watches in the world if that fulfills you. But like if it doesn't, then I don't think you should buy a watch for the sake of what other people thinks of you because you have a special watch. Because at the end of the day, it sounds like a very shitty person if they determine your values based on what watch you're wearing. But a lot of people are like that. Like when you show up at dinners and stuff, there's a reason to why I don't do it. It's like the guy with the biggest watch or the most expensive watch, he typically gets the most phone numbers and connections because people are like, oh, that's the biggest baller, you know? I'm like, what the? Get me the fuck out of here, you know?
Is it a hot? It is a hot statement. But one thing that I've always had, bro, and I don't know if this was before I even stepped into the realm of business. It's like I would purposefully avoid the people who are deemed the coolest in groups because I think they're just full of shit.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong though. I want to make a statement here because like if you're in a room obviously with a really cool bunch of people and you see someone who's well respected, there's a difference there. I'm not talking about being well respected or being someone who really carries themselves. I'm talking about the people who get attention, who are the loudest. Because my opinion of it is always if you are truly so confident, convicted, if you're really good, why do you have to be loud about it? This isn't about wearing stuff because hey, I mean, dude, I'm practically just a ton of stuff anyway, so I'm calling myself out there. But it's more the idea here of I think when I see people being really loud and kind of making all these audacious claims, it always lights in me skepticism. And this could be a defense mechanism for my youth. I don't even want to go there. But the point that I'm trying to share is like I feel like the best of the best are not yelling out that they're the best. They simply show it. Show, don't tell, as you say, right?
Yeah. And I remember this like a really cool moment. I was at an entrepreneurial dinner here. And, you know, people show up.
In Dubai, I mean.
Yeah, in Dubai. It was like 1 year ago. And we show up and there's a lot of like good people here and like good names. And that's also why I attended. And there were some people that I also looked up to and like some very, very, very good people and also people making some serious money. You know, and people were looking good and like watches and like, of course, also at a restaurant where it wasn't cheap. Let's just keep it like that.
Yeah, like a proper restaurant.
And you know, like, and we would do the usual routines. So like, what do you do? And like, what do you think of Dubai and yada yada? And what do you do on the weekends? Talk. And like the small talk. You know, and everyone would be like work or read or hit the ice bath, hit the sauna, and then like then I said like on the weekends I play CS.
Hell yeah!
And then everyone was like, do you play CS? Oh, I do too. And then like the whole fucking table was playing Counter-Strike on the weekends and no one knew. Like because
gamers are always present, bro.
But it's just
but it's fun.
Imagine if I had just like said a lot of bullshit. Can you imagine being honest? You know, said a lot of bullshit. I also go to the ice bath and sauna because I like it and it's nice. I also read and journal and do all of this shit. Plan my week, yada yada. But I also play Counter-Strike every weekend, typically 2 or 3 hours, you know. And then after the dinner, we went and played Counter-Strike.
You all did. That's the best thing ever.
Full team, 6 people. Oh, like we were
straight
six,
up went to the event because he was looking for a team to play CS with. That's
basically,
really
bro. And then I got a full squad and Wagyu beef, so it was like a perfect night out.
Wagyu beef playing CS. You know, people talk about the real flex of life being like, I don't know, having all these cool experiences, being on a yacht. And if you ask me personally, bro, before I started my business, one of my favorite activities was playing story-based games. Like I just picked up Hollow Knight Silk Song for all the gamers out there. Oh, what a beautiful game. It gets me really angry, 10 out of 10, rage bait game, because the game is just designed for you to die all the time. Yeah, anyways,
Vince plays weird games. I only play first-person shooter games, you know, where I can actually like...
Bro said weird. I like to play skill-based games where the developers have made it so you have to perfectly parry and know your frames. Anyways, points aside.
This is cope for being bad at CS. By the way, this is cope, first-hand cope for being bad at CS.
Listen, podcast. Fred, one day, me and Fred are going to 1v1. I'm going to call this motherfucker up. We're going to do a challenge, and we're going to put that out there. I need to...
Bro, when I'm back in Denmark, I'm buying a proper Windows PC, you know? Because I like to work on Windows. And I just like, you know, not Apple, fucking...
You know, I've considered it actually to just get a gaming laptop for the sake of enjoying that once in a while. Anyways, I was trying to say the real flex that, in my opinion, isn't about the yachts. It's, bro, on a Saturday when I'm chilling, let me pick up my gaming laptop, let me pull up League again, play without getting toxic or getting rage baited, and just have fun playing the game. That's the flex. And no one has to tell me you can't.
That's actually what I've realized gaming now. It's that I don't get tilted, right? No, I don't get mad anymore because I'm like, I have way bigger problems and way more stress than this. So
the gratitude is actually...
Yeah.
It's fun. You've gone from being a devolved human playing games, straightforward grinding for high ranks, to building a big business, making a lot of money, having all these experience, to go back to playing video games and realizing, wait, I never needed to stress about that shit because I already had. Serve, don't tell people.
Yeah, true. But that's also the takeaway from most books that I read. I really like to read self-biographies because I like the way that it's built up. Yeah, because like it's nice the way that people explain the things that they've done and kind of like pick the most pivotal learnings and moments. And then the way that they write it is like in real time, that you're kind of like experiencing it with them. And I learn, I like to read those books a lot. But it's always like they build something and then they sell that shit. Like most entrepreneurs have sold anything that have like really high net worth. And then when they've sold it, they realize that this was like everything that they wanted to, like sell the business. But then once they sell it, they start building the next one, you know?
Yeah.
And next one. It's like all you ever wanted was to play some CS, you know, with the boys. And then you build the business because you need some, like you got exposed to that. But you still just want to play some CS with the boys, you know?
And this comes back to what you said at the start, right? Like if having a business allows you to just have fun with your life, then what that means is you actually give yourself permission. Because this is about permission. One of the biggest and worst things that I had was guilt. When I would play video games, I would feel guilty. Yeah, same. And if you really think about it, and it's like if you think about it, it's that feeling of guilt that is such a negative, like latching glue to the constant spiral that you have. I talked about it with Nero too in my last session, because like the thing that I was going through is like guilt is the thing that keeps me stuck. When I relax, it's like, oh, I feel guilty for not working. Yeah. And then that guilt then leads you to needing to overcompensate, at least in my case, to work hard. But then when you work super hard, grinding, making a big month, then guilt because I didn't rest. And then you go back to the resting pole, and then you rest a bit, and it's like guilt because it didn't work. And then it never stops. Yeah. And you know what the worst part of guilt is in all these cycles of short-term lives? And really, this is more of an extrapolation. Guys, please zoom it out. It's not just about business. It's really just about organizing your life. And I think that's really the most important part of this, is that same feeling of guilt trickle down in different areas. For example, let's say you made a mistake with a client. Guilt. Let's say you did something else. Guilt. And all these cycles just do one thing. They just drag you down into this constant rat race or hamster wheel. And it isn't until you actually, going back to the topic of today, take a moment to relax, rest, and realize, hey, why am I doing all of this again? Yeah. That you actually, I think, come to a beautiful conclusion. Most of us started the idea of a business, because you actually want to do something great along the way. While you start doing that, you get lost into the quick cycles, cash, numbers, big promises. You lose what's actually important to you. And then you hit your goal and you realize, wait, what if I continue doing this in a way that I still remain true to what matters to me, like you described here? And honestly, if I can make it all sappy and shit, but that's really this pivot I'm making now. Like, in my vision and the goal that I have for myself is, why not make this the most grand thing that ever existed, but do it in a way that's so much fun. I have a desire for crazy challenges because that's just me, you know me. At the same time, I love relaxing. So why not find a way to do both? I think a really cool definition that I would put up on there is, a lot of us see resting and working as these opposite poles, good or bad, but it isn't until you realize they're actually the same thing. When I got this visualized, it completely shifted my perspective. Right? I think it's really cool. You know, like warm and cold, they're like two poles, right? Or like light and dark. A question here is like, what would people typically perceive better, light or dark? The answer would be light. But if I put you into a room of complete sunshine and lightness, and there's no dark, you're blinded by it. Meaning both are required. The only thing is for you, and depending on where you're at, work and rest. Same thing. Figure out the flow so you actually enjoy the season of your life. Because best part of all of this is when you actually get to look back at this, and no one thinks of this. I didn't think of this for a while. I know you do now as well, heavily. It's like 20, 30 years from now, the one thing that I don't want is to look back with regret. Saying, fuck, I wish I actually took that one night and didn't stress about work and actually enjoyed it, because, well, I can't experience that anymore because the circumstances have changed. That person isn't there anymore or whatever.
That's a good point. And I think it also just touches upon what the fuck it is that also drives you. You know, like what is it that actually, why is it that you want to get to certain goals, and why is it that you want to have a positive impact, and what are these things, you know? I paid a guy $1,000 this week for just like an hour with him. He's doing $700K a month, and he wants to push to 2 mil. He's also in consulting. And I just asked the guy, it's like, why do you want to go from 700K to 2 mil? And he just answered like without blinking, because of my ego. You know, he knew so deeply that the reasons why he wanted to scale his business was because it fed his ego, and that was the most important thing to him, to win.
That his ego was, yeah.
So like it
Harvey mentality.
Yeah, he wasn't like, oh, it's because I want this, or it's because I want. He just knew what drove the guy, you know, and he just owned it. He just said straight up, this is it. And it took me a lot of time to realize what it really was that drove me and got me out of bed, and like was kind of like the driving internal force behind me getting from XYZ to whatever next for him. It's like, but you just need to figure the fuck out what it is that gets you out of bed in the morning, you know?
Yeah.
Because that will get you further than anything. And it will also give, like, you can also rationalize a lot of your decision based on the things that get you out of bed in the morning.
Yeah. And I think how I've experienced it, because I think the ego is a great driver, but the only thing with the ego is it's very short-sighted, meaning there's always costs to it. And what I've been trying to look upon lately, and I think this is really the approach that I see the most holistic, is what if there was a way, and this is not to compare to that guy, by the way, but just more as an example here. Let's do a mental experiment here, like a thought experiment. What if there's a way for you to try to find a real driven reason, a real purpose for going from 700 to 2 mil that doesn't require you to need your ego for it? What I mean by that is your ego is a part of the story, but it's actually really driven. And I think this is really where I'm going to with the entirety of the next steps in my business and in my life, which is there's always, like, you don't need to do this, by the way. This is just the experiment that I want to have with my life, because fuck it, my life's an experiment. I want to make that very clear. Please do not mirror this if it's not for you, because it is intense. It comes with costs. But the point is, what if there's a way to find a purpose? Not just find a purpose, to be that purpose, right, in that sense, that actually naturally allows you to take those steps to 2 mil, that it isn't this grind or it becomes this heavy journey, fuck, I need to, but simply I get to. I know you're doing a version of that. I know I am as well. And I think when you can find that spot, it's when you actually have them not only the most fun in your business, but you make the most impact. Because every step you take, everything you carry, it comes from that space. You're building the digital coffee shop knowing the impact you'll have on people and on your life. Same thing here with the collective. And that's the most beautiful place. So what it really comes down to, guys, is please, if there's one thing I want you to take out of this, it's the only way you can come to the conclusions that Fred and I are talking about, if you really think about it, is you just have to zoom out, sit down, look at your own life, and later go, wait, what am I doing this for? I think the scariest thing that I've had to experience with that as well is that when I do this, it's suddenly like, oh shit, I actually was driven by my ego for so long. And it creates a gap, right? It creates this gap of like, what if I let go of my ego and now I lose everything I have? That won't happen. But you have to come to that conclusion first.
100%. And I think like it's good reflections, but I think like this guy also is like, he just knows. He knows, of course, that if he makes more money, then byproduct of that will also him having more clients and him delivering good impact. But like he couldn't care less because he knows that ego is what drives him. So he might as well just lean into it. And then of course, I also know him and he has a really, really good product and he's an awesome guy. So he also delivers a really good product and he spends time with his family and these kind of things. But he's just like leaned into the ego thing because that's what gets that guy out of bed in the morning. And then fuck everything else kind of. It's just like, that is it, you know. I respect that.
And it's really about the awareness to make the decision there and knowing for yourself that that's the decision you make instead of 100%. Having it made for you or being unaware of it. Because that shit's scary, man. Because that leads you to places you do not want to go.
We wish the guy the best of the journey, but hey.
Yeah, this is not about him, by the way. This is just more the perspective of us in that. Because like, imagine you mirror that, and then you're like, I need to be ego-driven, and you end up breaking all the things that matter to you. That's the point more.
Yeah, and I think that's also the cool part about it. That's why I like to pay some people that are doing way better than me, just to like listen to their perspective. You know, because I also asked the guy like, how does your life look in 5 years? And then he was like, fuck 5 years. I never look past 6 months. Yeah. And I was like, in the time and the period I was speaking to him, I of course valued his words incredibly high, and I leaned a lot into that of like, that makes sense, and maybe I should start only looking 6 months into the future. But like after the call and doing some reflection, I was like, fuck no, no, I don't like the only operating within like 6 months goals and time frames and activities and priorities. Like that really didn't resonate with me, because I also later realized when I asked the guy, it was like his goal was to get out of info. So of course he has short-term goals, because he just wants to maximize cash and then he want to get out. But I just told the guy like, hey, I wanted to be in this forever, and then it made more sense with the longer-term goal and time horizon, right?
Yeah. No, well said.
So it's interesting.
Yeah.
He will probably get to 2 million a month.
Yeah.
Oh, that guy's
I think
stone
it really comes
cold.
down.
He sent me a screenshot yesterday of like, hey, if you ever want to work, just let me know. I'll send the payment link. I did 60K today, and he just sent me a screenshot. And he's just
that's it.
Just let me know, and I'll make you pay.
I'll make you pay.
And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
That is hilarious. No, but it's really cool when you have a good offer like that and a good product, you can just do it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No,
he also said something
stuff.
interesting. Because I kind of like, I ran him through the bottlenecks that I'm kind of experiencing with my time availability. Because
that's a big one.
I think for the past year or so, I've kind of dedicated all of the people that I've worked with, their results and the satisfaction rate and the renewal rate to time with me, which meant that I had a relationship with the only way that I can
your
get people,
time is limited.
Yeah. So like the only way that I can help people is by spending time with people. And he really just called me out on that bullshit, because at the end of the day, what people buy is they buy results, you know?
Yep.
And if I believe all the time that the only way that I can give people results is through time, then I have a big problem in my business based on the goals that I have of also increasing impact and amount of clients that I can serve. So instead of...
Yeah, certainly.
And then I was like, yeah, true, I need to charge what I'm worth. But then he was like, no, a lot of people get that wrong. You shouldn't charge what you're worth. You should charge for the results that you bring.
Yep.
And I really, really like that framing a lot more, because I went through like a lot of the case studies with him. For example, I mentioned your case study, other clients that I've taken from like 20, 30K to 80 to 100K, people going from like 10 to 40, 30 to 60. Like, and this is in monthly recurring. Oh shit, my camera died. I'll just turn it on. But I'll make the I'll turn it on.
Just give it a sec.
Yep.
The good old Elgato logo.
We're not cutting this out. Hugh.
Yes, we are. We're cutting this. The pot is so doomed.
Keep it in.
What happened?
Just turn it on.
Go.
Keep it in. No, and then he was like, why the fuck are you charging 9.5K for 4 months when you're adding 20 or 30K in MRR to people's businesses? That's 400K a year, and you're charging 9.5K.
I agree.
He just said, if you don't double your prices, you're an absolute idiot. And I said, damn, I don't want to be an idiot.
Yeah.
But it made good sense. It's like charge based on results, and then everything becomes way more logical.
And this is where it gets interesting, because if you want to charge based on results, then to an extent, you have to be able to prove that.
Yeah.
But proof is an interesting thesis, right? Because there's multiple ways to prove it. You could prove it by only putting numbers, kind of like how he pitched to you, which is, here's a big fat proof, you can pay me when you're ready. Another way to prove this, and this is where we get into ecosystems, going more technical now, is you can actually show your worth in how you carry yourself, the insights you have, and the proof that you have.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting where it's like there's a cool fine line between like proving your worth and simply being worth it. And the point that you have to be at, I think, really to be able to really get to that point, because why wouldn't someone pay you 19K? Literally, why not? You have to be worth it. And being worth it simply then reflects into how do you show up in your content? What type of videos do you make? How do you reflect it?
Yep.
Your identity goes up, your pricing goes up.
True.
And both have to be
starts
equal.
within.
Yeah.
And I needed to be called out on that, you know?
That's good. Yeah.
So that was really nice. I really needed it. And it was very true.
Yeah.
But it's also because like I've had a resistance towards raising prices, because I always evaluated my service based on the amount of time that I spent with people. So I always felt like, I can only raise my prices whenever I have my program done, because then it makes more sense with both time with me and the program that will get people faster from A to B. But it's just not true, you know? It's fun how you keep getting challenged in this space.
And it's even more interesting when you look at your LTV numbers and then you're like, oh, my renewals are that high at this point. I could get anyone in for whatever price and I could keep going it up. And I think there is a fine line between ethical pricing, but we're not even going to get into that, because the truth is you're the one actually delivering the service. I have the same opinion here, which is like, hey, if this is what my time is worth based on what I can get you, then you can choose to work with me or not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. And I like that.
No, awesome.
Very good.
I think the key, to end it off, boys, I think all boys and girls, actually, I should say, I think the key is, and Fred and I spoke about this the other day.
By the way.
God damn it, not then. I'm not and non-binaries and everyone else. Point is, do the things you're proud of. A year from now, a few years from now, 5 years from now. And most definitely do the things you're proud of today.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you right now, the things you'll be proud of a year from now are the exact same things you'll be proud of today. It's just you gotta listen to yourself a lot more.
Yep.
And the only way you can do that is if you actually take a moment to reflect, to write down your thoughts, not to go constantly. And again, yes, there are phases of the business where you're going through the grind mode, especially at the start. But my thesis is it doesn't matter if you're going through the start and grinding. You can still be aware of these things, because I'll tell you, Fred, and you know this of me, even when I was at the start going through all those parts, I was still always reflecting on this with you.
Yeah.
Because I kept thinking to myself, I don't want to have to sacrifice all the things in life and hate who I am just for more money. What if there is a way that I can have it all? And the best part is there is. You just got to fucking think about it and do the effort and actually go and study and learn.
Yep.
Good shit. Now it's Serve Don't Stop episode 4, people.
Yep.
Unless Fred
Good
wants
luck.
to say anything else.
Fuck no, I just wish people the best of luck internalizing all of this information and putting in the work.
Have fun learning from this all and actually facing yourself.
Good luck. Happy it's not me with that amount of homework.
Because you've already done all of that. Oh, man. Awesome, man. Good to see you again. And see you guys in the next one. Make sure to sub, like, and leave your comments as always. See you soon.